Hello and welcome to the Varietal Show. My name is Rory, and if you've never been here before, you have found yourself on the Varietal Literature YouTube channel. What we do here is we have fun with narrative. We have a website where you can read stories, usually original stuff from people such as me, and some other writers that I'm friends with. But also, we do a stream twice a week on the Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m., same time, different day. We do like fairy tales readings and old classic folk tales and stuff. It's way more chill. I mean, this is chill, but that's super chill. It's PBS chill. And this one is where we write together. Well, I write and you guys participate through the chat. And it can be anything from like the more serious stuff that we do, like me giving you some ideas about how to describe a character like we did last week. Or it can be like tonight, where we're just going to do the worst job we can because it's funny and I enjoy writing, and hopefully you do too. And if you do, there's a chat. Make sure I get it the right way. Is this the way you are, chat? You're mirror to me. There's a chat anyways that you can join in and say hello, and you can give me suggestions to work into whatever it is we're writing. I see that a couple of people are already there. GS says, good evening. Good evening, GS. GS also says, romance, your favorite, Rory. I still have never read a true romance novel. I've read novels with romance in it. I don't mind it and by any stretch, but no. Holly's House says, where is everyone? Should be hopping in here. Yeah, we do have some regulars who come by. We'll see if they have the time for this. I mean, it is the middle of summer, so hard to say. And yeah, so what we do on the show kind of varies from week to week. Sometimes I give some book recommendations or movies or games or things to do with narrative that I think are fun. Don't have any of those this week, but the main thing we do is called Lit Games, and Lit Games stands for literature games. Now, literature games is where we write live together something, whether it's paragraphs, scenes, or entire stories. And what we're going to do tonight, what the thumbnail took me a minute there was trying to tell you about, is we're going to try and write a little bit of a romance scene. Nothing too spicy. I mean, we're a little PG-13 here, but, you know, not much more than that. And we're going to try and construct that scene using sort of similes and metaphors. And if you don't know what those are, don't worry, I'll explain them. That are the worst we can think of. Just because I think those are funny, and just because I think sometimes doing things the worst way possible is A, can be weirdly inspiring, and B, can be very informative. I'll try to prove that second point as we go along. Now, I don't have an itchy nose. I see Big Drew's here, and he says, what's up, cheese bags? I love cheese. What's everyone's favorite cheese? That's a tough call. I think I'm going to go with blue cheese. I want to see where chat's at. If you don't like cheese, I don't understand you, but I don't judge you. Big Drew is on the scene. Yeah, Big Drew, good to see you. Okay. So let's get to it, because this is the main thing that I am doing tonight. By the way, if you are watching this, I mean, why would you have made it this far, I guess? But if you are watching it not live, and you're like, I don't really care about the writing, I just want to see the results, check in the description below. There will be timestamps to jump ahead. Now, if you're watching it live, you obviously can't do that, because that would be time traveling. Although if you can do that, hit me up. Okay, so I see we're getting our cheese recommendations in. Big Drew says provolone. Love a provolone. Good sort of melted on a patty. I don't know about a raw provolone for me, but like a melted on a patty. Holly's House says jalapeno Havarti. I do like Havarti. It's a very like mellow one that takes a good flavor. Big Drew says a nice sharp cheddar is good too. GS says bags of cheese. Blue cheese feta. Blueberry goat cheese from Holly's house. Now that is one I've never had. I'm not a huge blueberry fan, which is kind of wild because I grew up in a place that had a ton of blueberries around. Oh, I see a vote there for Boursin. Is there a specific type of Boursin you like? Because they have, like, it's like Gatorade. There's like 15 different types of Boursin. Whatever it actually is. I don't know what it is. Just a soft cow's milk cheese? All right. So, I'm calling this section Bad Romance. Bad Romance. I don't want to get copyright struck. So, what's my off-brand melody for that? Da da da. It's a bad romance. Like a show tune. Da da da. Having a bad romance. If you are a fan of Lady Gaga. My apologies for that. I promise you we don't do it often. Okay, so first of all, let's just start with like a classic 1980s sweaty pulp kind of romance scene between let's say a guy and a girl. So ooh, that's a little big. Let's take that down. Fill pages too quick doing that. I need a setting, guys. They're still talking about cheese. I need a setting. Like, do you want to put this on a beach? Keeping in mind, we're going to be using terrible, terrible metaphors and similes. Or are you going to be... do you guys want to do this in like a penthouse apartment? Maybe they're walking along the boardwalk as the sun dissolves like cotton candy in water. See, I'm getting started there. While I wait for people to give me a setting, just if you don't know, a little bit of like grade 8 English back at you. Similes are when you compare things pretty directly. So like it's not built into it. So it's like you have a thing and then you put like a like or an as in it. As used to be the only grammatical way to do it. Then over time, like also became acceptable. And you put the thing you're comparing it to. So like, the glass cracked as an egg might, or something like that. That's like a simile there. Now, a metaphor is a lot more subtle, and I've struggled to define it for people. Metaphors don't announce themselves. They're still similes, but they use language like that's suited or refers to something other than the literal thing you have. You know, struggling to think of something off the blue here. Wow, I should have written something down. I don't know why I'm going blank here. Big Drew says high school gym basketball game, always in the Hamptons, grown-up romance. Holly's house is a riverboat. High school basketball game on a riverboat in the Hamptons. Says Big Drew. I kind of like a riverboat. I don't think I've ever written anything on a riverboat. So let's do like an old school riverboat. Yeah, a metaphor would be, you know, like referring to your car sort of in the language you might describe an alluring woman, right? Which is a common thing I've seen, you know, saying things like, you know, the Ford Mustang, her curves were like this, or her curves were beautiful and caught the light. She had a wonderful voice or something like that when you revved her engine. Like, you're not exactly saying she's like a real person. This car is like a real person, but by giving it, you know, a gender and using language you would normally use to describe a human body, you are engaging in a metaphor. So in other words, all our comparisons, whether they are more buried into the text or whether they announce themselves like a simile, is what we're going for. Now, the point here kind of is to show that you can compare anything to anything, but not everything gets your point across, even if it's accurate. Okay. Holly's House says, in New Orleans. What's a river in New Orleans? I just know it's a bayou. I don't know anything specific. He watched... I'm going on some real, Disney cartoon understanding of riverboats here. So if I'm wrong about this, blame my upbringing and education and general worldliness. He watched the paddling wheel of the riverboat turn in a measured rhythm, as if it were dunking several things into the water to drown them. She turned to him and said, "Boy, everything out here sure is covered in mosquitoes." Oh, we're getting recommendations already. So Big Drew says her dress flowed like the Ganges and had drowned twice as many men. GS says Mississippi, as in the Mississippi River. Is the Mississippi near New Orleans, Big Drew? I have no idea. Lake Pontchartrain? Big Drew says. Big Drew, I believe, is American. We don't hold it against him. No, seriously, it's fine. But I gotta be honest, like beyond the broad strokes, the details don't really come up here in Canada. I see people on TV make a big deal out of how they just don't know much about Canada. As if it's some sort of burn. I gotta be honest, most of us don't know much about the ins and outs of American geography either. New Orleans is on the Mississippi, yes. Alright, well then the Mississippi seems very classic. The wind spit at her with good force. Like the world was a trumpet in Dizzy Gillespie's grasp. And Big Drew says Lake Pontchartrain. Pontchartrain? Wow. I'm sure that's still not right. But then again, I can think of a few things around here that I remember. We had these guys come over to a radio show here who originally had lived in Alberta. And there's a bunch of uncommonly named things in the area of Vancouver. A lot of them are just basically either native names from native languages, or straight up some version of it, kind of that way, like an anglicized version of it. So in literally no language. And And as a result, we have some things here that are pronounced in no way the way that they sound, or look spelled, I should say. So, like the Patello Bridge, does not sound like how it's spelled. It is spelled like. So you always know when somebody's new here because they call it the Patullo, which is fair, but it's not how it's pronounced. We have the Coca-Cola, though I think that probably does pronounce the way it sounds. Big Drew says Dizzy Gillespie's trumpet is a great New Orleans jazz reference. Not sure if that was intentional or not. Every jazz reference I make is intentional. Friggin' love jazz. Okay, anyways, I'm meant to work in... I'm getting so off track here. I'm meant to work in your thing here, Big Drew. And caused her dress. Okay. Oh, I have her dress in there twice. Oh, I have the itchiest nose. Tip of the nose tonight. Oh man, you guys are getting all the good ones out here. The wind sped at her with good force, like the world was a trumpet in Dizzy Gillespie's hand, and caused her dress to flow like the Ganges, though it had drowned twice as many men. I hardly noticed, she said. She said, fanning herself to get some relief from the sun that shone on her like a heat. This is from Holly's house. Heat lamp on a burger. Oh no, my window stopped. The illusions. The illusions. He thought the heat made her all the more appealing. She shone like the last glazed donut, shedding its sweet icing. So the big thing about, since we're kind of into it now, man, people are going nuts with this. The big thing about metaphors and similes in particular is you have to make sure that they, how do I put this? They come from the same mood, the same sphere. You know, like you don't want to use something you would never eat, or that is actively like poisonous or gross to eat, to describe a thing you are eating if your aim is that it has appeal. So like even if you say, for example, the icing, you know, was as green as a grass stain, right? that could be accurate. And you might say, oh, yeah, that's an accurate way. It was exactly the color of a grass stain. But nobody wants to think about like sucking grass stains out of pants when they're thinking of icing, right? You're trying to be appealing. So like the big thing that makes a bad metaphor or bad simile, and what we're kind of playing with here, is like stuff you don't want to relate to other things. They're bad relationships, even if they are accurate ones. Okay, so he thought the heat made her all the more appealing. She shone like the last glazed donut, shedding its sweet icing. After a moment, watching the sweat drop from her cheek, he turned away from his trance, watched the couples sway in the dance, sway on the deck below. The dance was a slow dance. Perfect for the summer heat. They moved. The folks were shifting about in the thick of a summer boat party. And this one also comes from Holly's house. Like maggots on a dead deer in the summer heat. Okay, Big Drew says, the night sprung to life as the sun dipped into the horizon and fireflies one by one illuminated the evening air, like miniature lamps floating on the breeze. Okay. Well, I noticed you. You didn't even need... Sorry. You aren't even sucking my blood. He said, with a wink. Not unlike the kind you give to a lemon that just spritzed you in the eye. Oh, you. You're such a romantic. Tonight. She said, then turned out to look upon the Mississippi. See if I can do this without looking this up. Someone tell me if that's accurate. and pointed towards the horizon. The night was springing to life as the sun dipped into the horizon. Fireflies, one by one, illuminated the evening air like miniature lamps floating on the breeze, or a very distant spotlight with something yellow spilled on it. Did you hear the announcement? Apparently the captain is drunk. And we are lost. He said, building on his successful lines so far. But not nearly as lost as I am in those big burger patty eyes. She looked at him with those two-tone marbles and grinned a whole rack of bowling pins. Gia says, the warm air carried a scent like the fragrant aroma of sweet aged wine. How about whoops. Because that's just genuinely beautiful. The warm air carried her scent. Let's do that. Her scent. Which was a fragrant aroma of fruity vinegar or very old wine. The kind you'd never drink. GS has got a good one there. My God. He flustered. Which is not how you use that word, but I'm leaving it. Your eyes are as big as a pair of pretty strong, far-sighted glasses Maybe even bifocals. Big Drew says, leaves on the trees danced on the breeze like a stripper on a pole the day before her rent was due. I like it, but I'm not going to put that one in. Though I do find that funny. GS says, darling, your hair is as soft as expensive 3-ply toilet paper. I feel like she's going to say that. Well, she says. She said in response, blushing as red as dried tomato sauce. You got all the compliments in you tonight. How about I lob one right back? You got the softest locks I've ever seen on a man. Like the finest 3-ply toilet paper. Fresh from the package. Holly's house says, sun dunked into the horizon much like soft cookies do into milk. The kind that falls apart and leaves chunks in the milk. He felt himself salivate as he stared upon her steak red lips, glistening in the rising blue moonlight. My dear, he said, your lips are downright cyanotic in this light. Then he grabbed her. What are they called? Like a grabber in one of those machines with the stuffed animals, and yanked her towards his exit slot to kiss his prize. Okay, I think I could still work with that one, Holly's house. Kiss his prize, I guess. She felt his lips, but only after feeling his powerful mustache. Like a cow striking the cow catcher before being sucked under the wheels of the train of love. Like she was a cow striking his cowcatcher, let's say. Big Drew has a good one too, but I think I've gotten past that. I mean, I could try to work it in. He smiled, admiring her mustache as well, and pining for a kiss, but fearing that if their lips met, it would be two janitors just sweeping in the night. We could do another one, maybe? No, my God, we have used a lot of time. I don't know if we could do another one, but we could do one that is not a man and a woman. Machines that clutch was a he grabbed her like a grabber in one of those machines that clutch the stuffed animals and yanked her towards his exit slot to kiss his prize. I feel like this scene is done, so I feel like we need another one. We can call this the riverboat. Whoa, sorry for the headphone users. The riverboat. I don't have anything amazing in mind, so the sweaty riverboat under the moon. Let's do that. The riverboat of love. Yeah, that was the first one that came to mind for me. Big Drew was riverboat of love. I was trying to think of something better. All right. I will say I can't go as long tonight because if you weren't here on Tuesday, my lower back's out. So sitting is challenging over a long period of time. Like, I'm not actively in pain, but it won't be able to go as long. All aboard Passion. Perfect. All aboard for Passion. Love on the Fraser. We have a river in this area called the Fraser River. Which is an extremely muddy river that's highly polluted and has a natural undertow that will suck you under and drown you. All right, let's read what we have and see if we really need to do anything more. So this is for our bad romantic metaphors and similes, and we called this All Aboard for Passion. He watched the paddling wheel of the riverboat turn in a measured rhythm, as if it were dunking several things into the water to drown them. She turned to him and said, "Boy, everything out here sure is covered in mosquitoes." The wind spit at her with good force, like the world was a trumpet, in dizzy Gillespie's grasp, and caused her dress to flow like the Ganges, though it had drowned twice as many men. "I hardly noticed," she said, fanning herself, to get some relief from the sun that shone on her like a heat lamp on a burger. He thought the heat made her all the more appealing. She shone like the last glazed donut shedding its sweet icing. After a moment of watching the sweat drop from her cheek, he turned away from his trance and watched the couples sway on the deck below. The dance was a slow dance, perfect for the summer heat. The folks were shifting about in the thick of a summer boat party like maggots on a dead deer, also in the summer heat. "Well, I noticed you, and you aren't even sucking my blood," he said with a wink, not unlike the kind you give to a lemon that just spritzed you in the eye. Oh, you're such a romantic tonight, she said, then turned to look upon the Mississippi and pointed towards the horizon. The night was springing to life as the sun dipped into the horizon. Fireflies, one by one, illuminated the evening air, like miniature lamps floating on the breeze, or a very distant spotlight with something yellow spilled on it. Did you hear the announcement? Apparently the captain is drunk and we are lost, he said, building on his successful lines so far, but not nearly as lost as I am in those big burger patty eyes. She looked at him with those two-tone marbles and grinned a whole rack of bowling pins. The warm air carried her scent, which was a fragrant aroma of a fruity vinegar or a very old wine, the kind you'd never want to drink. My God, he flustered, your eyes are as big as a pair of pretty strong far-sighted glasses, maybe even bifocals. Well, she said in response, blushing as red as dried tomato sauce, you got all the compliments in you tonight. How about I lob one right back? You got the softest locks I've ever seen on man. Like the finest 3-ply toilet paper fresh from the package. He felt himself salivate as he stared about her steak-red lips glistening in the rising blue moonlight. My dear, he said, your lips are downright cyanotic in this light. Then he grabbed like a grabber in one of those machines that clutch the stuffed animals and yanked her towards his exit slot to kiss his prize. She felt his lips, but only after feeling his powerful mustache, like she was a cow, striking his cow catcher before being sucked under the wheels of the train of love. GS says, oh, this is good. Holly Sauce says, I really, really, really want to see this as a skit. I may have to use my dolls and do it. Go right ahead. All stuff here is group made and allowed to be group used. Yeah, I know we're a little early, but I feel like we've had our fun. I mean, if people really enjoyed this and if it does reasonably well, then absolutely we can come back and do this again. I should give credit where it's credit's due. I forgot to say this at the beginning. It was Big Drew who recommended that we do really bad metaphors. And thank you for that recommendation. If you guys have other recommendations, let me know, and I'll see if I can make them work in the format of the show. Big Drew says his exit slot, his mouth. Right? Sounds like he's about to kiss his rump. I guess so. I guess that's possible. I'm okay with that ambiguity. I think that links to the idea of a bad metaphor. If you want to know how to write like good metaphors and similes and stuff, we've definitely done stuff that's a lot more serious, I guess, like trying to help people write if they really want to. And I think probably the best one is I've done two, they're sort of tagged as Bob Ross things, where we just sort of sit together and write. I really enjoyed doing them. But we did one where we describe scenes, and I think that one covers a lot of my thoughts about like what is a good philosophy around putting together a simile or a metaphor. But anyways, I have enjoyed this, as I always do. Thank you so much to GS and Big Drew for hanging out today. And again, if you guys have any recommendations or anything, you let me know, and I will do whatever I can to make it work for the show. I mean, this has been the Varietal Show. We got exciting things coming this month. I know summer is a slow time, but please do please do like and subscribe. Like, at the very least, if you enjoyed the show. And thank you so much, Drew, is particularly for the idea, GS, Holly's House, and all those secret little lurkers out there. Thank you so much for dropping in and giving us a shot. I will be back next week. Take care of yourself. I gotta go cash out. Get out of my shop.